What's up, guys? Brett Okamoto from ESPN, joined by UFC welterweight Ian Machado Garry. He finally gets his shot at a UFC championship against Islam Makhachev at UFC 330 in Philadelphia. And Ian, it's good to see you as always. I was thinking about how to start this conversation off with you, and to be honest, man, I felt that the only appropriate way to do it was to kind of acknowledge that I don't believe there's another fighter on the UFC roster where the conversation around him is less about fighting. And that seems crazy in and of itself, but also for this particular fight, as you have constantly said, you're facing the number one pound for pound guy in the world. You're fighting for a championship. So if ever it was going to be about the fight, I would think it would be this one. And yet I Google your name, Ian, and the fight is not what comes up. Like, how do you feel about that?
I have, and this is the genuine truth, I have absolutely no idea about any of the things you're talking about.
Hmm.
I have been switched off and disconnected from social media for a very long time. I use it with purpose to go on and run my social media. Um, I spend very little time on it, but I know it matters to my fans, the people that care about me. Um, But I am so, and I have been so focused on this fight, my friend. I have been the most professional I've ever been. I have been absolutely locked in because this camp for me hasn't been about trying to beat Islam Makhachev and beat the champion. It's about Ian Machado Garry becoming the champion of the world. So this fight camp has been me being the best version of me because when I win this title, when I beat Islam and that belt is wrapped around my waist, I'm the guy everybody's coming for.
Yeah.
And I need to be at the highest level.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you look at this fight as not only a chance to win a championship, but also to change that narrative? Because, like you said, once you got a belt around your waist, that's really what matters. That's what guys are gunning for. All this other stuff about what you say or didn't say in interviews and anything else that anybody has to say, like it does just naturally, I think, kind of direct the attention towards competition itself when you're the guy holding the belt. Do you kind
Yeah,
of
I
view
don't,
it
I
like
don't, I don't
that?
think it's ever going to change around my persona. It's all fake. It's all fake. It's all on social media, and it's all fake. Any bit of hate that you speak about, it's not reality. When I walk down the road in Philadelphia, in Dublin, Ireland, in Brazil, in England, anywhere I go, I'm met with nothing but joy and love, people, and appreciation. I've never had anyone come up in the street and say anything negative to me.
Hmm.
So it's all fake. It's all false. It's all a pantomime. And it's all on a world that isn't real. Social media isn't real. The real world is this moment here. It's this moment where I'm sat with my team, my family, preparing for the biggest fight of my life. And all of us are laughing and excited. There is no negativity in my camp.
When you talk about, getting into this camp and it's not about taking the belt from someone necessarily, it's about crowning yourself as the champion.
Mhm.
Can you talk about your confidence going into this fight? I think it's a big thing. I think that you've always had natural confidence, but can you talk
Yeah.
about where that comes from and how you built it specifically for this guy who is, as we all know, the number one pound for pound fighter in the world?
The first day I ever walked into an MMA gym, I I went in confident about my stand-up, confident about my boxing and my hands, having that been my first introduction and first love in martial arts. When I went into literally my first MMA sparring class, I've actually got a friend of mine here with me on Fight Week. He's the guy I'm going to speak about, but Callum Niston, a friend of mine, he took me down and manhandled me because his game was wrestling. And from that moment on, all I have ever done is focus on people stopping me, stopping people's takedowns, not allowing them to have that success, not allowing them to get their momentum flowing and irritate and frustrate and punch them in between and find every way possible to prevent them from having success and allow me to shine. Look at the Shavkat fight, right? I stopped, I think well, between Shavkat and Bilal, I stopped 15 of 17 takedowns. I've been unbelievably elite at stopping people getting me down.
Hmm.
I've never been submitted. I've never been knocked out. I know what I'm capable of. And Islam Makhachev is amazing at what he does. But I know I'm able to handle everything he has to throw. I know that. And I know how good he is. I respect him as a fighter so much. I have seen his dominance. I have seen his dissection of people. It's beautiful to watch. I know I'm able to do it differently.
Yeah, it's probably maybe not, but it might be hard to compare the challenge of the two. But I look at Islam, and of course, I mean, he's brilliant. He's amazing. But he also has looked human. I mean, he had to go,
Yeah.
he went all the way down to the wire against Alexander Volkanovski. Dustin Poirier took 2 rounds from him on a scorecard. What 2 years ago? And that was at lightweight, and now obviously coming up at welterweight. How does he compare, I guess, to like the boogeyman Shavkat? Like when you were getting ready, and especially because that fight was on short notice, your confidence and just your mindset going in, is there any comparisons or differences between the two?
I don't compare, I don't like to compare Islam to other fighters because I think everybody's different. Everybody presents different challenges, different problems. Every opponent. For example, I think, but if you look at the people we fought, so if you look at my last five opponents versus Islam's last five opponents, in my opinion, it's not a discussion who's a more difficult. When you look at who I fought, Bilal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Carlos Prates, MVP, those four are four of the trickiest fighters on the planet.
Mm.
All of them present real danger. When you look at JDM, Hanato Moicano, Dustin Poirier, and the other fourth one, I think was Volkanovski, if I'm correct.
I believe so. Yeah.
As much as Volkanovski is a legend of the sport and Dustin Poirier is a legend of the sport, they're not as dangerous as the guys I've just mentioned.
Mm.
Not only that, every single one of them is bigger, longer. Shavkat was 18-0 and 18 finishes when I fought him. He had like 10 knockouts and 8 submissions. Carlos Prates had an 11-fight win streak by knockouts when I fought him. I've been fighting the highest level of MMA fights against the toughest opponents. When I step into this octagon against Islam Makhachev, I'm going to prove to the world why Ian Machado is truly great.
This might be something that, of course, is important in every fight. And indulge me a little bit because I do want to talk about the fight itself and the X's and O's. And I know you probably don't want to give too much away, but I'm fascinated by this fight. I think technically this is arguably the best fight of the entire year. How important is it to you, and how do you ensure that you get off to a good start? I would not want to be down after round one in a fight this highly competitive, this highly skilled. Is that
Mm-hmm.
something that you have discussed? And like, am I making too much of that, or is a quick start very important in this fight?
I don't. I've not thought about it like that. I think about going in there and beating them by any means necessary. It doesn't matter how the first second goes. It doesn't matter how the last second goes, or anything in between. As long as I'm doing everything in that moment to make the right decision, to cause the most beautiful violence I possibly can, and do everything correct to get my hand raised
Mhm.
by any means necessary to get my hand raised against Islam Makhachev is how I'm going to win this fight.
How about risk taking, Ian? I mean, you fight, you're capable of fighting in different ways. You've switched up your style against different opponents. I mean, I think you at your best is when you're kind of playing a cat and mouse game, and when you're maintaining that range that you want. I feel like a guy number one pound for pound, a champion like Islam, you're going to have to go in there and really take it from him. And it's like how do you view, I guess, aggression and risk in this fight?
I think, but what you're saying there, I think that's how every challenger has to go into a fight against the champion. You can't just scrape a win against the champion because It's hard being the champion of the world. It's hard being the guy that everybody is trying to beat, everybody is preparing for. You can't just walk in there and marginally win. In my mind, you have to go in there and make it absolutely abundantly clear that you won that fight. That's my opinion. For me, it's being efficient. It's not about risk taking, it's about efficiency. It's about making the right calculated decisions to cause the most damage and remain safe. Risks are the risk is entering in the octagon. Do you know what I mean? We're both of us are two of the greatest fighters walking this planet right now. We both know what we can do to each other. Long-term health-wise, instant health-wise in that octagon. Do you know what I mean? I've broken many people's noses, faces, ribs, everything. I tell you what, look at Shavkat Rakhmonov. When I fought Shavkat Rakhmonov on December 6th, 2024, he's been out since and he's had 3 knee surgeries. That's the risk we take as fighters. Entering the octagon, training every day is a toll on the body. Training every week it's tough. Do you know what I mean? We only have one brain and we need to protect it. So every time we enter the octagon and every time we prepare for a fight of this magnitude, we take massive risks. The fighting's the easy part. The fighting's where we get to go in and we get to put all that hard work, all that dedication and discipline and sacrifice on display. I don't think about that. I just go in there and I fight and I have fun. And that's what I'm going to go in here on Saturday night, August 15th in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I want to go in there and be so present because I want to remember this moment for the rest of my life. The night I became champion of the world.
And how will you celebrate it? How Saturday night when you're done with the media, how will you celebrate being the champion of the world?
I'm going to grab my wife. I'm going to grab my son and I'm going to give them the most cuddles and kisses I possibly can because nothing else in the world matters to me. I cannot wait to see their faces when I have that belt wrapped around my waist and my hand is raised. All I want to do is be present with them.